Dave Paulides Canadian Missing Project. That is Huck L. Berry, the infamous one. And yes, she will be in here keeping track of today's activities, as she always does. And she's been a good girl. Yeah, you've been a good girl. Yeah. Yeah, you're a good girl. Oh, yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah. Yes, you're a good girl. Yes, you have. Oh, you've been tired, huh? Say hello to your fans. They all love you out there. In fact, people at the conference said that their dogs bark when they see you on the screen, okay? So, be a good girl. All right. All righty. Friends, we got a good show for you today. I do have a missing person story for you, for sure. And we're going to start off this segment. You know, I wrote a book called The Devil's in the Detail. Missing 411, The Devil's in the Detail. Do you ever think why I wrote that book? Well, there's an article called A Day in the Park, Devil's Tower National Monument. And it was posted by the National Traveler. It says, how many of you have ever watched Steven Spielberg's Close Encounter of a Third Kind? If you have, and you should if you haven't, notice a very distinctive rock formation heavily featured in the movie, established September 24th, 1906 as Devil's Tower National Monument in Wyoming. It's not only the first national monument created, it's also the first national monument to protect a unique geologic feature. Question. What's the difference between a national park and a national monument? Well, that's pretty easy. Basically, a national park gets its designation from Congress. A national monument gets it from the president. Monuments usually denote one special feature of an area. Devil's Tower, the tower. Other things, it's usually just one thing. But we're going to go on this because Devil's Tower has always intrigued me. Soaring 867 feet from the base to the summit, the tower is the largest example of a columnar jointing in the world. Formed from an igneous rock known as phonolite porphyry. Some of the columns are 10 feet, 3 meters wide. How did the Devil's Tower get its name? During an 1875 expedition through the area led by Colonel Richard Irving Dodge, the translator interpreted the Native Americans' name for this structure as Bad God's Tower, or similar, which later became Devil's Tower. It is suspected that in this mistranslation, the native word bear to bad God. Local tribes consider the landmark sacred and traditionally call it Bear Lodge. So during my years when I was in school, I actually did a paper about this in high school. And it says there are four hypotheses positioned by the National Park Service about how Devil's Tower formed. The simplest is that the tower is a stalk, a small intrusive body formed by magma which cooled underground and was later exposed by erosion. In 1907, scientists Darton and O'Hara decided that Devil's Tower must be an eroded remnant of a laccolith. A laccolith is a large mushroom-shaped mass of igneous... Don't correct me now. Don't do it. Which intrudes between the layers of sedimentary rock but does not reach the surface. Other ideas have suggested that Devil's Tower is a volcanic plug and that it is the neck of an extinct volcano. The limited evidence of volcanic activity, ash, lava, etc. in the area creates doubt that this was it. It's possibly the material may simply have eroded away. In 2015, geologist Zavada and his colleagues proposed his own hypothesis for the formation of the tower. They compared it to a similar butte formation in the Czech Republic. Their hypothesis suggests that the tower is the result of a Mar d'Atre volcano. These form when magma encounters underwater beneath the Earth's surface. So that's what the National Park Service says. I've also heard a hypothesis. The Devil's Tower is an old, giant tree that became fossilized. And when you look at it, it kind of looks that way. And by having 4 different hypotheses presented by the Park Service, you can tell nobody is quite sure. If you intend to fly, then drive to Devil's Tower, the nearest commercial airport is Northeast Wyoming Regional Airport in Gillette, located about an hour and a half away. Once you are in the park, what can you do? The first thing you should do is orient yourself to the park is stop at the visitor center in addition to getting your questions answered by the park staff. If you feel like taking a hike, there are trails of all fitness levels. How many of you have ever watched the Spielberg show, Close Encounters of a Third Kind? You'll have noticed a very distinct look. And that was supposed one of the attractants of the UFOs. If you haven't watched that Spielberg show, you should watch it. It's really good. It's really good. I'm getting you to the good stuff here that I outlined. A lot of people climb Devil's Tower. I would not recommend that. There's several routes to climb. Hundreds of parallel cracks divide Devil's Tower into large hexagonal columns. These features make it one of the finest traditional crack climbing areas in North America. The cracks vary in length and width. Technical difficulty ratings come from 5.7 to 5.3. Many modern climbers consider the oldest routes harder than the original ratings. A few bolted face climbs that exist were established in the 80s and 90s. The conditions of some of the bolts reflect the era. The park also offers ranger-led night sky programs. And this is the part that is ultra cool. If you get out there and you have a clear night, it's fall, spring, it's not too hot, the backdrop of the sky to Devil's Tower on a clear night when you can see all the stars is stunning. I'm telling you. And if you have a decent camera, you will come up with some stunning pictures. If you'd rather pitch a tent or park your RV beneath the stars, Belforish River Campground is open May 16th to October 14th. Our forefathers were fiendish, hellish, you might even say devilish. Need proof? Look at the maps and the names of many of the places we visit and then ask yourself, why in the hell are so many places in the Western National Parks named after the infernal demon and his lair? One of the first thoughts I had upon rolling upon the gate of Devil's Tower was that Teddy certainly got it right when he used the Antiquities Act to designate this tall stump of rock as America's first national monument. If I could be sure that it would always be this way, I think I could live forever in the campground at Devil's Tower here in Northwest Wyoming and be perfectly happy. Hard to argue that point, honestly. Once you see it, it's one of those things you never forget it. If you like to travel, put it on your bucket list. It's out there in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, but once you get there, cut back across Wyoming, go north through Montana, hit Yellowstone, go north, hit Glacier National Park, go north and hit Jasper up in Canada. Epic trip. Epic. Now, what I'm going to tell you about is a missing persons case first. And then I'm going to catch you up to date on the conference I just came back from in Ocala, Florida, and kind of what happened there and some highlights, etc. But this case I'm going to talk to you about today I want to thank you viewers for sending this in. Man's name was Terje Johansen, 61 years old, retired. He went missing November 30th, 2021. He lived in Nykirk, Norway, kind of the southern reaches of Oslo. Had family and friends in the area. Nothing unusual happening in his life. He was thinking about moving from that area up into a part of northern Norway. And he had been looking at homes, eventually found a house, had agreed on the price, was going to drive up and close on the house. Told his family about it. Everything was on track. So on November 30th, 2021, he left in his vehicle to drive north. So let me explain this, just so everyone knows. This is where he lives, right here. Nykirk. Oslo's right here. Well, he's supposed to go this way up into his new home and sign the papers. For some reason, he drives and goes over to Sweden and goes over to an eastern part east of Stockholm, and nobody could understand why he went there. But hold on, I jumped ahead a little bit. Let me bring you back in. So he was supposed to go to northern Norway, buy this house, sign it off. Well, he didn't show up to sign off on the house. And his vehicle's found in kind of southern Sweden near Muskö in the southern Stockholm archipelago. Now, police found his vehicle kind of crashed off-road. And that's how this all started. Top picture shows the back end of the vehicle, and this is the front end. Same location, two different pictures. Kind of drove off the road, boom, crashed. Very confusing here. You got to follow this. So the police find the car, and it doesn't have a license plate. Well, that's not normal for Sweden. Everyone honest, very low crime back in 2021. So they pull the VIN number off of it, and they find the car is registered in Norway. So what they do is they contact the Norwegian authorities and track down his family members. And then they talk to the family members, say, no, he's not even supposed to be there. He's supposed to be in northern Norway, not far Sweden. So police decide that something may have happened here, and they organize a search of the area. Comprehensive one. Canines, drones, and they even decided to search the water areas around there with side scan sonar. Unbelievable effort. And this is Terje, 61 years old, happy guy, no mental health issues, no drug habits, just a good person trying to find his way in life like all of us. Then he's way over there in Sweden. So they police search, and they found his license plate. And it appeared to them like it had been torn off the rear of the car and thrown way out into the bush. They found it. But here's the weird, it gets even more weird. In the vehicle, they find his wallet, luggage, a pair of his shoes, and he's gone. Now, friends and family knew he was carrying about $1,200 for expenses and things when he was going to go close on this house. Well, he's gone. but everything else is in the front seat. The canines can't pick up any scent from the truck. They can't find any tracks leaving that area. So the police were investigating it, and it got a lot of local press. And part of that local press is very, very close by to where Terje disappeared. There's a military base. And on December 1st, he actually stopped by the military bases and was talking to one of the security officers. And the security officer told the police Terje was alone, very polite, acted completely normal, nothing seemed wrong. Didn't say what the content of the conversation was. But a very, very short time after that, he drove his truck off-road, crashed it, and then police said something really weird. They said that since the vehicle had crashed, since that time of the crash, somebody had cut down a tree behind the car, almost like in an attempt to make sure it didn't leave. What? And they thought maybe Terje did it. They didn't know. They didn't say how he did it because they didn't say he had a saw. But somebody had a saw. Very odd. Well, the police got more pressure, and they came back to that scene 8 times in the last 5 years and searched. They brought cadaver dogs. They brought regular scent sniffing dogs. They did everything they could. The press interviewed one of the detectives on the case, and he said, "It's inexplicable what has happened here." They said that the family and the police went through his phone and through his computer at home, and there was no connection or rationale for him to be in that area of Sweden. They said it was bizarre. And then they were trying to understand, why would he leave his phone, luggage, and pair of shoes and wallet behind? Well, one police detective, I read this and kind of chuckled, but he said that there's only a few reasons that people ever do what he did. And those reasons were, number one, he had an accident of some type. Maybe he was delusional and he just wandered off. Number two, he was suicidal. And number three is there was some kind of illness involved. I guess he's thinking amnesia, but he didn't say that. He said if there was illness or suicide, there was a 95% chance he was within 100 yards of that vehicle. And they said that they meticulously searched the area around that car and they got nothing. Okay. I find that his 3 options are a little short. He said accident, suicide, or illness. Okay. I'll throw a 4th one out. What if there's some kind of criminal element? What if somebody abducted him and stole the car? Tell me that's not a possibility? I'll even give you more. I've had a lot of people over the years in this almost identical scenario drive vehicles, or vehicles get placed in areas that are inexplicable and people disappear and leave their shoes behind. I'm just giving you facts. I don't know what happened. I know that it's been 5 years and Terje's never been found. It fits many, many of the criteria in a missing 411 case. So, Terje Johansen, missing November 30th, 2021. Never found. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you an update on the conference I was just at. If you don't want to hear that, move on. But the Bigfoot conference in Ocala, Florida, it was at the Equine Center. If you've never been there, it's this huge campus, bigger than most university campuses, huge, first-class facility. University of Florida has one of their vet hospitals there. It's a horse facility. It's got some super good restaurants, super nice hotels, just way over the top. I mean, it's for millionaires to bring their horses. You gotta be really rich. I don't know what Marty and the crew are doing. They're getting a place for Bigfoot, but it was nice. And yeah, we had one of these big, giant, like cement floored barns that we did the event in. It was exceptionally nice inside, clean. Had about, I'm gonna guess, 100 vendors, 2,200 attendees. It was huge. One of the bigger events I put on, or I've attended in a while. And then for me, it was good to see somebody I haven't seen in a while, Scott Nelson. Scott, myself, and Ron Moorhead spent 8 days up at the Sierra camp. But even aside from that, Scott Nelson and I met about 14 years ago in Honobi, Oklahoma at a conference. It was me, Harvey, Scott, and Harvey's wife, Gina. And there were some people there that were whacked. While we were there, they blew up a fairgrounds restroom while we were there. And Scott and I were thinking about leaving because it was getting violent. And what happened was that Harvey and Gina, they were special agents for the state of Oklahoma at the time, and they go, guys, don't worry. We'll stand on each side of you. We're armed. Nothing will happen. And they were right. But it was pretty scary. Scott and I were talking about that when we were there, how we remember those times. Well, the other part of being at a big conference like this is that you meet all kinds of really nice people. People come up to your booth, introduce themselves, explain why they are there. And two very interesting people I met. People were middle-aged, both in great shape, husband and wife, and they were corporate pilots. And they oftentimes flew together. And they came by the booth, and they were interested in missing 411 and Bigfoot, and they had open minds about things. And I told them, you know, back years and years ago when my wife was working for a corporate person, we actually, the president of the company asked my wife if we wanted to fly with them to Maui on their plane instead of flying commercial. Heck yeah. I've told you guys this before, that I got invited by the pilots to sit between them on a jump seat when we left California, just to get a pilot's view out of jet. I've never done that before, so that's cool. So I sat up there and I talked to the pilots, and hey, I'll ask guys anything. So I said, hey, you know, you have thousands of hours of flying. You guys ever see anything weird up here? And they said, yeah. When we were leaving Monterey, California, flying out over the Pacific, this orange orb, about the size of a basketball, was outside the co-pilot's window and stayed with us for about 20 minutes. And we'd move left and it would move left. And it was like those old lava lamps. You could see the stuff moving inside of it. And these two pilots go, yeah, we've had things happen. And then the female pilot said, yeah, the latest thing I had was flying along, and something about a 3-foot diameter, disc-shaped metallic thing, flying at like 39,000 feet, comes flying along near our wing, slowly moves up over the top of the wing, moves past the wing, and is gone. She goes, I couldn't believe what I just saw. It didn't hit the wing, thank goodness, but I couldn't believe it. And then she said, talked to my co-pilot, and we were considering whether we're going to report it or not. And the co-pilot, who had thousands of hours more experience, said, you know, if we open that door it's going to incur so much paperwork and so many hours of our time. We probably shouldn't do it. I've heard the same thing from probably 10 other pilots, which goes to the point that the amount of things seen by pilots is so far more than what we hear about. There's a lot going on up in that sky that we don't know about. I'm just saying. Then a good friend of mine, a man named Dave Bocara, he owns Expedition Bigfoot in Georgia, one of the absolute best Bigfoot museums in the world. It rivals any museum you've ever gone to. He and his wife Melinda have put together one of the best museums on the planet. And so if you're out there in Georgia, look him up, go see it. It's phenomenal. I haven't seen Dave in several years. And everybody goes and takes their Bigfoot path one way or the other. I don't know. I could still like somebody even though they don't think like me. Well, I saw Dave in the audience, and after the presentation, I had to leave right away to catch a plane. He sent me a note and he said, Dave, that presentation was spot on. Spot on. You opened a lot of people's minds. That made me feel good. Make me feel real good. And then many of you know that the person who organized the Ocala Bigfoot conference, same one that's organizing the Gatlinburg Bigfoot conference. And it's the same person that's putting on the Missing 411 cruise out of Alaska, September 11th, where we leave out of Seattle. And he told me on this, he goes, Dave, we only have a few cabins left. He says, the turnout just in the last few weeks has been phenomenal. And people are jumping on board. That's good. But if you want to go, do it quickly. Gather Up, GATHERUP, Gather Up events. Google it and you'll find it. The next conference I'll be at, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, July 25th. Also go to Gather Up events. One person, actually two people came in the booth and they had questions about hitchhikers. No, I don't mean the ones going down the road looking for a ride. We're talking about the ones that happen when people go to ghost sightings, Bigfoot sightings. It really got famous at Skinwalker Ranch because the investigators there were taking these things home. And one of the people at the ranch told me one time, they said, Dave, are these entities opening our ability to see something that's normally there but we can't see it, but now they opened our ability up and we can see it? And they said because sometimes two researchers are right next to each other and they both see totally different things. And they're both looking at the same item. Yet how is that possible? And then the other question came up was that, well, are these things controlling our perception? Are they studying our response? Both UFOs and Bigfoot. And if they are studying our response, why? Why? I mean, on the reverse course, you could say, well, we're studying them because we don't know them real well. Is that why they're studying us? I don't know. People said, oh, hey, what do you think of this Florida weather, Dave? Oh, my goodness. So when I left Montana, it was 59 degrees, clear weather, essentially no humidity. I landed in Orlando. It was 93 degrees and 90% humidity. And I landed at, I think, 11:15 at night, got in a rental car, drove to Ocala, took the turnpike to save time, and they were doing traffic mitigation work and improving the asphalt on the roadway. So they had 3 lanes closed. It took me over 2 hours to get there. I ended up getting there at like 2 in the morning eventually. Oh, I was so wasted. It was ridiculous. So, and then on the return trip from Ocala to Orlando, bumper to bumper traffic at like 7 o'clock at night. It was bizarre. Very bizarre. But I'm extremely indebted to Gather Up Events and their crew because they absolutely do a stellar job, and that's one of the reasons why I'll keep doing their events. They bring in a good crowd of people. Everything's well organized. They don't do things second rate. They put you in. Let me tell you a quick story. Years ago, probably one of the first 5 conferences I ever went to, I did the cardinal sin. I said, yeah, I'll go. And they sent me a contract. I signed it. I did not ask where they were putting me up for the night. This is a true story. So I land there. I'm not going to say the location because I don't want to identify the group. But I land, get a rental car, and I drive to this hotel. And remember, I worked undercover for a long time. I drive in the parking lot of this hotel. There's a drug deal going down right in front on the sidewalk. I saw it. I drive into the parking lot of the hotel. Broken down cars everywhere. Addicts walking up and down. I looked around and I said, there's no way I'm staying here. There's no way. And I just got back in the car, drove down the road like a half a mile, found a Marriott, used my own credit card, and booked myself in. And from that point forward, I learned to always ask, what's the location you put speakers up in? Now, the person who booked that trip and was the host, oh, I didn't know that hotel was like that. Oh, come on. People just trying to save money, I get that, but you know what? Do your job. Put nice people up, and you don't have to spend some exorbitant amount of money for me at all. But don't make it a dive. Don't make it a drug den. That dog don't hunt. So, thank you for being here. In the very near future, you're going to see me put up some interviews that are going to blow your socks off. Can't say a lot about it right now, but they're interviews I've done that you've never seen before that are going to be stunning. And I mean that, stunning. Huck and I say thanks for being here. Remember, if you have a case in your area, send it to me at missing411@yahoo.com. And I will read it. And our website, missing411.com, is the new website. Books, DVDs, movie posters, all right there. Paulides out.